Yes. Hello, everybody. I always think there's going to be a delay because we're not live. But hello, everybody. My name is Karen from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. And today I'm with Tina.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, so we're coming on a video today to talk about a topic, spiritual extremism. Very near and dear to both of us. Tina's very passionate about it, and I love that. She wrote a really great article today, a blog post that is posted on our website. So we'll link that down below. And so we like to come on and talk about it. Well, I'll let Tina take the lead in that because she just wrote about it today. And yes, I'd like to hear all your sense all about it.
Okay, so we're noticing this whole new level of consciousness and thought that is kind of erupting in the
Yes, that's what it feels
community.
like. It's so aggressive.
It
I find
does feel very
it's
aggressive.
judgy and aggressive because if you don't say the right words, you're condemned for it, judged for it, corrected. They that's what they love. Like they love if they were a teacher, they would have like red pens all around,
Yeah,
like correcting you. Like you're
exactly.
not you are it reminds me, it's actually funny that you're bringing that up because it reminds me of that message that we got
Mm,
on our website, which
mm.
was exactly from an anti-New Ager calling us an abomination. We know who did it. Like I said, I have your IP address. Um, but just yeah, saying you're an abomination because then you're playing into the wrong or the incorrect thing. Like
The incorrect
side. Yeah,
side.
right.
Yeah.
The incorrect side. So you can't be on our side if you're still saying things that are not representing our side that is right.
Right. Because only that side is right.
Right. Whereas it's like, okay, it's
And
yeah, it's
talking,
just
speaking
so
of,
angry.
and speaking of red check marks, the word they're using is red flag. These are red flags now.
Yeah.
In this anti-New Age, so this anti-New Age thought has kind of been like a boomerang resulting from the New Age and people beginning to question and see through some of the deception within the New Age. Rightfully so. There is a lot of deception there.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, in seeing through that deception, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, meaning that there are truths, there are good things to be found within New Age thought.
Mm-hmm.
And what this anti-New Age, I don't know what to call it, extremist kind of thought is doing is
It's just bashing everything of the new age.
everything.
Like everything. If you're a new age and you just light incense, they're like, ah, like you're feeding into the matrix by lighting that incense.
Right. Or they'll like say you're calling in demonic spirits or something, like, I mean, the way this has kind of evolved, it's so extreme. It's so polarized.
Both
Um,
sides, where you have the airy fairies and then the fucking dense ones on the other side, but they're both dense on both sides.
right. And we're missing the balance. We're missing the balance. This world is constructed as a dualistic world, right? We have the contrast of light and dark, of good and bad, or good and evil. And to be able to function within a world like that, we have to find middle ground. We have to find like the fulcrum, the balance point where it's not one side or the other.
Yeah.
The realm of duality in this extremist thought will have you believe that you need to pick a side. And if you don't pick a side, then you're going to be ostracized from both communities because you don't fit into either, because you're maintaining your integrity and your authenticity to self instead of converging and joining with these two separate sides, two separate thought forms. They're creating an actual thought form, like a living, breathing entity that is running through them in a negative feedback loop. And it's the way I see it, like a web stretching out, you know, and beginning to catch others quickly, like hard and fast. Hard and fast. It's spreading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are certain trigger words that are, if you say these words, then that's a red flag to them. And then they just completely dismiss and discount anything else that you say. There's no balance. We've
Right.
completely lost the plot here.
Right. Because they've already determined what the trigger word, like what it means. And there can be no other meaning to it than that one meaning that they're attaching it to. So if you say, God forbid, the wrong word or a word that already has a predetermined meaning, it's you get your fucking strike.
Right. Right. And I think this is a really slippery slope that we're on. Forcing people into another box, into limiting beliefs and thoughts and perceptions.
Yeah, you could totally see it. If you just observe one side to the other side, yeah, there's no middle ground.
Mm-mm. No. So, you know, one of those trigger words is source or the one or oneness, the belief that we are all interconnected with everyone and everything, that there is a life force that runs through us all, that connects us all, divine mind, that I am you and you are me. Therefore, whatever I do to you to hurt you, I'm also hurting myself, and vice versa. And to me, that feels true and genuine, but it's being distorted by both sides. It's being distorted by the New Age, and it's being distorted by this anti-New Age thought. So much so that it's the mere mention of source or the one or oneness, it triggers people. These are trigger words now because they have been told to believe that merging with source after you leave the body is a bad thing because you lose your sovereignty and your individuality. And whether that's true or not, it doesn't make it untrue that there's still a life force that runs through us all, that connects us all. I don't know about you, but I deeply feel that we're all connected. That does not mean that I give over my sovereignty or my individuality. That means I remain a sovereign being and have boundaries, but still feel connected to the one.
Right. And how do they discount that if there are communities on this side, like the anti, I don't know, oneness, where they have the same mentality as others and they have groups and the same mind,
Right. They're
like
creating
feeding. feeding into each other's like narrative, which is whatever, but it's you can't say that you're not connected when you're connecting about something.
Right. Yeah. So,
Because you can't be like, no, we're not at all connected. Like I hate them, but we have the same beliefs.
the belief is that somehow the feeling of oneness is a deception. And I think that's a dangerous belief. You know, you have that on this side. On the other side, you have more of the mainstream narrative kind of tunneling everyone into a more collectivism mindset, merging with the collective, like you were saying, like into the hive mind, herd mentality, everyone thinking alike. That's the agenda of the WEF, right? With the transhumanist agenda. That's the agenda in having people um, create these new identities, genders. I mean, people are identifying as animals and fairies now and different things like that. Um, so it's all these polar opposites that are forming. And in one way, I feel like that's almost necessary at this point because of the deception and the manipulation that has gone on for so long. I feel like we are trying to weed things out. We're separating the wheat from the chaff, the truth from the lies. And while we're doing that, it's causing this strict, extreme polarization as we are individualizing, becoming more sovereign in ourselves, beginning to know ourselves better as separate entities from the system itself.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a slippery slope because we run the risk of then not having any balance at all, but staying in that polarity.
Right.
That's what feels, it feels dangerous to me. It feels dangerous. Like if we stay in these extreme polarities, then there's nowhere to connect with each other. There's no unity at all.
Right.
It's this extreme separation that's happening. Earth is a realm of separation, right? We know that. But it's like separation in the extreme now. Everything is like polarizing in opposite directions. And I think we need to be careful not to stay in those absolutes, in those in those absolutes, like saying that anyone that mentions oneness or the one or source or the divine mind, like those trigger words, you know, is just completely dismissed now.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
if we can't have nuanced thought anymore, as if we can't hold two opposing views at the same time or two opposing beliefs. Like we can't believe that we're part of the one and be sovereign. But of course we can. Of course we can, because that's what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
We feel part of the one, and we are also sovereign individuals that have boundaries and no longer accept abuse and control and
Mhm.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's tough for people. Like they don't know that they can hold all beliefs. Like they have to pick a side. Um, I find it's easier for people who come from, let's say, the new age, and then they go to the opposite direction because they've been deceived,
Mhm.
learn about it, and then now they can't leave here. Because if you leave here, where the fuck are you gonna go?
Right.
There's no other place you can go. You can only go from one side to another. And the way I see it, it's like these people here in the new age are trying to abandon their ego. But over here, there's multiple groups of different hardcore egos, and you cannot bypass that.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Very interesting. Because it's true. It's like the ego is ramping up on this side in the anti-new age, right? Like
Yeah, because
the
you have to be
wanting,
right. You have to be right. That's an ego.
you have to be right. It's all about um, judgment of others, being an individual, being sovereign, but in an extreme way, not in a more balanced way. It's like
Right.
and then you're right, the other side is more about like ego death and letting go of all that and merging with
Yeah.
the one and that kind of thought. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see how these things are evolving. And I feel like, you know, 2020 was such a big wake up call, not just on the material realm, but spiritually too. We started to see through a lot of the spiritual deceptions as well. Um, and that is continuing to evolve so much so that, David Icke just wrote a book about the trap. Like to see that hit the mainstream in that way is pretty incredible. And like that's
Mhm.
what I was saying about these ideas developing like really hard and really fast. Like,
Yeah, like that becomes the new Bible.
yeah, yeah. But I feel like he at least has a balanced view in that book. I
Right.
haven't read it all, but for what I listened to his interview with Brian Rose, and um basically he said exactly the same thing I said. He said, we're trapped until we know we're not trapped.
Hmm.
And I think the hyper focus on the soul trap is digging us deeper into it in a way.
Right.
The over identification with the ego.
Right.
Because,
Because it shouldn't be that easy to get out to those egos. You have to have a checklist of things that you need to fulfill in order to get out of here.
right.
When it could just be very easy.
It sounds easy, but in reality, it's not. Because we have to heal and resolve all of our past life trauma that we've come into this lifetime with. We have to resolve all of our karma. And even if you don't believe in karma per se, there are still relationships that you've come into this life, people that you've come into this life with that you've probably made soul contracts with that need to be resolved. And if those aren't resolved and you don't find forgiveness for self and others within those relationships, that is a weight, that is an attachment to this realm. When you're holding that heaviness in your heart of an unresolved wound, that is going to keep you here. So part of um, the escape, so to speak,
Hmm.
is in healing and resolving all of our past life trauma, finding forgiveness for self and others, healing from the abuse of this lifetime and the deception and the trauma and the gaslighting and the manipulation, healing from that as well, finding forgiveness for that. Um, and bringing ourselves out of victimhood. Because
That's a really hard one.
if we leave the body in victimhood, we're not leaving here. We're not leaving here. We have to resolve our victimhood and tie up all our loose ends, knowing that we ultimately are not this body, even though it's our vessel, our temple for this lifetime. We are not this body. We are not even the soul. The soul is what we use to experience this lifetime in duality, as we've seen. We are a bigger manifestation of spirit. And our spirit is the part of us that is connected to the whole, that is connected to the one, that exists outside of this matrix system, this inverted universe. It exists outside of you. And when we can do those things, knowing yourself, remembering who you are. And I really honestly, I feel like the exploration of our consciousness, whether you do that in shamanic journeying or however you do that, hypnosis sessions, quantum healing, exploring your consciousness to see, where do I come from? How did I get here? Like all of these questions that are being asked by, the soul trap theorists. Where did I come from? How did I get here? Did I consent to this? Did I not? How do I get home? How do I find forgiveness? How do I heal from this trauma? All of those things, like, you can find answers for. Your memories are not erased. They're deep inside of you. The trick is to get past the mind that's trying to intellectualize and figure all of this out through the mind and the ego. You're never going to figure it out. The only way out of here is to go through the heart. The heart is the portal to everything. The heart is the portal to remembering who you are and where you came from, so that you can return there upon leaving this life after you tie up all the loose ends. We are trapped until we realize we are not. And we stop being a victim of the archons, of the system, of the controllers, of the matrix, of all of it, and take responsibility for your life. Stop blaming the system for your problems and take responsibility for your life. You are the only one that has control over your life. Are there outside influences? Yes. There are entities, there are people, there are situations that kind of come out of nowhere and fuck with you. That's a thing. But when you take responsibility for your life and you start changing yourself from within, doing the inner work to heal your inner world, those things show up less and less until they eventually stop altogether. Because you are disconnecting yourself from the matrix. You're literally unplugging yourself when you do the inner work. And then the system can't get to you anymore. It's as if you transcend it and exist outside of it while you're still here. That's where you want to get yourself. But in order to do that, there's a lot that needs to be done. We can't just claim ourselves sovereign and think that we're going to leave. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, because if it did, we would have been out of here a long time ago.
Right.
And finding the balance between the extremes. Because if we're still choosing one side or another and not integrating both, then we're still in a polarization. We're still playing duality. We're still choosing sides. We haven't transcended any of it.
Yeah, can you say transcend? That sounds like a new age word.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
Can't say anything anymore.
Right. Can't say anything anymore. I mean, even love. Can't talk about love. Because of love bombing. Everything's about love bombing now.
Right. But love bombing is not even real love.
Right. And that's what we have to make these distinctions. Every, I don't know, what do you call it? Value, emotion has a shadow side and a light side. Love can be manipulated. We know that. That's what love bombing is. Love bombing is falsely generated love used by a predator who's trying to persuade you into something, who's playing on your wounds of feeling worthless and unloved and abandoned by probably your parents or the world, God. The only way a predator can manipulate you is if you have that wound. When you heal that wound, you can no longer be controlled, gaslighted, manipulated, or abused or traumatized. Because you know who you are. You know that you fill yourself up with enough love, and you don't need that from another person. You might want that from another person, but they're not going to be able to manipulate you with it because you're going to recognize the red flags right away. We have to differentiate between true unconditional love and love bombing. They are two completely different things. And
and real red flags.
And real red flags. Yeah. Yes, love bombing is a huge red flag. But we can't lump all of love into that same boat with love bombing. They're two completely different things.
The same. Yeah.
It's not even close to the same. True unconditional love is not going to manipulate you or try to persuade you or try to control you. It's just completely different. It's not the same. It's gentle. It's never forceful. It's not judgmental. It's going to give you space. It's not going to like jump all over you, you know? Like it's something that comes from deep within you. It's not going to give you like the crazy butterflies and the feelings that rush through your body. That's
that.
But like the false light, it's the love bombing feelings that are generated are the false light feelings that entities can give you too. Because that's what we're talking about, is we're talking about like love bombing in the afterlife, right? But you cannot say that all love is love bombing. That's a deception in itself, and you're spreading deception when you say that. Part of our healing here is in learning the differences between these things, you know? And I think partially what we're doing in this swinging of the pendulum is just trying to figure things out. You know, we've been so abused, so traumatized, so manipulated, so deceived that we're just trying to sift through everything and find what is the truth. And in doing so, we're swinging really hard to the left, you know, but it's just because we've been so hurt by this place, and people are hurting and they're pissed and all of those things. So I totally get how this is happening, but we can't,
There is good stuff that exists here.
Right. And we have to find that balance. There is good that exists here, right? Or it wouldn't be a realm of duality. There's both. And it's really a matter of your perception. You can literally change your whole entire life with a shift in perception. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
By stop focusing so much, hyper focusing on all the negative things in your life, all the negative things in the world. When you are putting your energy into that, that's what you're getting. That's what's coming back to you. If you're only,
that's what you're expecting.
And that's fray, and that's what you're expecting.
Or even in your subconscious. So even if you're trying to give it another chance and you haven't really, it'll creep in via subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the subconscious is what needs to be healed. All of the subconscious programs and limiting beliefs that we've picked up over the lifetime.
That's what I'm doing today.
Yeah. But yeah, just so you're putting all of your focus into that negativity, and then it's that's what is being generated in your reality. So just a tiny shift in perception, like just focusing for one day on the all the good things in your life, finding something to be grateful for, something, even if it's just that you woke up today or got out of bed or
Or that you have a group of people that agree with you. Like,
or or put your feet on the grass or smell a flower or pet your dog or have a roof over your head and clean water to drink and food to eat and a pillow to put your head on at night. Like it's just the simple things. Find something to be grateful for. Otherwise, you're just going to be miserable and it's of your own creation. You can't blame anyone for it. You're creating that. We're
yeah,
creator beings. If you believe that we're creator beings, which is one of the main tenets of these thought forms, then you have to believe that you're creating your reality. And if you're living
yeah,
in misery, then you're creating that
yeah,
to some extent.
yeah. It feels like, there you have to go through the cycles of grief through like learning what this matrix is, how you got screwed over, how you got mind wiped, how you don't know,
Mm,
all of that stuff, to be angry about it and say like, okay, I want to go out, you make your decision. But then there has to come to a point where you have to let it fucking go. I mean, what are you going to do? You're already in it. Like, you have to let it go.
right. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Now that I know better, what are you going to do about it? You can say, like, yeah, they could just put me back on the thing or claim it. I'm getting out of here. Okay, so now that you've decided that I'm going to get out of here, what are you going to do about the quality of your life now? You can change it, at least to make the rest of your existence here better, a little better. Because, I mean, if you're already saying, like, I'm getting out of here, then great. That's great.
Right.
Instead of sulking and trying to get people on the angry train about how we all got fucked. We all got fucked. Whether you volunteered here or you didn't. We all got fucked.
Right. That's another important point too, because there's all these questions about how did we get here, and there's all these ideas out there about how we got here, what's happening. We cannot paint that with this broad brush of generalization. We all got here in a different way. Are there commonalities among groups? Absolutely. Like the people who volunteered to come in and try to help break us out, to remind us of who we are and that we can leave, that we don't have to stay stuck here. Um, each soul, each fractal of consciousness came here in a different capacity. So we can't really make these broad generalizations about how we got here or what's happening here. It's different for everyone. And that's why I'm saying that the exploration of your consciousness is paramount to learning who you are, remembering who you are. If those are the questions that you're just burning to have answered, the only way to answer those is to go within yourself. The only way out of here is within. That's the only way. You're not going to get out of here by looking to the outside world, even after death. If you're looking around in astral, you're already stuck.
Fuck no, I don't want to be in the damn astral.
For me, I truly believe that going within, the heart is a portal. Going within is the way out. And another point is about the memory wipe. And we're so focused on this memory wipe. Our memories are wiped. And I get it. It does make
Yeah,
sense. Like
right. Because then I
if this
wouldn't
is a
do,
school,
yeah.
right? If this was a school, why is our memory wiped? Why just don't we remember any of the millions of things we've done before? How can we learn anything if we don't remember what we've done before? Like that line of
You
thinking.
could kind of get an idea from this life what you've done before.
Absolutely.
That's a clue.
Absolutely.
If you've been
Huge clues.
traumatized or abused, chances are, as we've seen in sessions and everybody's sessions, everybody's fucking abused. This is the world. So if you want to remember all of your lifetimes of that abuse, that sucks. Because I mean, like I was telling Tina before, I can't even imagine myself in this body, and even as a little girl with parents who didn't even know how to help me cope or even know like what the fuck I was coping about. To hold all the memories of my past life trauma, if any, or all past lifetimes of all that information, like think about it. I
Right.
can't
This
even
is
take this lifetime. It's a lot for me to carry. So if I had like 500 fucking lifetimes on here, do I want that? No. That's a lot and it's confusing. It's a mind fuck. And I was saying like then you would have a bunch of people in a psychosis.
as if we're not already.
Yeah, you can't even be able to like identify because there's so much information. It's all the same shit. Like this lifetime is more than enough information to tell you exactly what they wiped. And are we really wiped if it's happening again? Like it's the same shit.
But we're not, because those memories still exist within us. They're
Right. You
just
can,
not in
right.
the forefront. They're not in a
Mm.
can you imagine, like Karen was saying, if you could consciously remember 500 lives
Yeah,
right now.
let's just think about that for a second. Like just sit back and saying like I want my memories, like relax. Just sit back and just logically think about it from a very neutral standpoint. If you're a computer and we just downloaded all 500 lives into your body and you were born with that as a baby, a child who held all that information of trauma, of abuse, that's a fucking lot. And then growing up with that norm and your parents can't even help you deal? Come on.
Yeah, because they can't even deal with this
Because
life.
they're carrying their 500 lives too. They're like, oh, like
Right. The human body itself is not equipped. The brain is not equipped to handle that. And I already hear what they're saying. Well, you're making excuses for the archons.
okay.
No, no, we're not. We're
No, we're trying to be
saying,
very realistic about it.
right, there's a different way to look at these things. And that doesn't mean we're making excuses or any of those
No, it's just like
things.
just humor us and just look at it from that perspective. Drop your belief system for a second and just look at it from that perspective. Like I can easily access my if I had lives or where through my own consciousness. So yes, everybody can, like Tina said, everybody can.
Everybody has
They're not
access.
they're not necessarily wiped.
They're not even that deeply suppressed. They're really not. All it really takes is for you to get into a relaxed state of being.
Mm.
This is the work we do, and the past lives pop
Right.
right up. Like it's
Like
not that hard.
it's a genre for a reason to access them.
Right. It's not that hard. So
So
we can't even
mm.
say, so if that's true, then we can't even say that the memory is really wiped because it's not, it's just suppressed. so that we can function
Right.
in this world.
Right. And if you did, let's say within the first 2 years of your life, and you did have access or you weren't able to speak yet, I think after a certain period, it fizzles when you're a
Mhm.
child. But if you have a parent or people around you who are telling you you're talking nonsense, that makes no sense, or look at their
It's just your
imagination,
imagination.
it's gone. You lose it. It's
Yeah,
there. Kids can access it very easily.
right. Exactly. That's a really good point. Kids can access it
Kids can't access it, but that's probably why a lot of them are super fucking sensitive and in pain.
and cry all the time.
Yeah, it's me.
Me too. I cried
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah. It's just that
Yeah,
my parents just told me to cry for nothing. But you're holding so much, whether it's multiple lifetimes or just this one, it's a lot, just this one. And then other people who is traumatized around you and in your vicinity, it's a lot.
yeah,
I didn't
sure.
even understand that till my daughter was having a panic attack at a fair. That was the only time it really clicked for me.
Oh, really?
For me to see myself as that child and then
Um,
and helping her to deal with the panic attack in the public.
mm,
And I'm like, fuck, that's why I didn't know. That's why I cried all the time. This was the for nothing. It's the everything. It's everybody.
wow. Yeah, that's a profound realization. And we can be, people can be so like hard on their kids, what's your problem? What are you crying for? Like
Yeah.
those
I-
kinds of, and
yeah.
when somebody in our group, um, he just had a baby, like an infant, some little baby boy, and he was saying like it's so different seeing like as an awakened being with the consciousness and the information that he has now. Like he's like, I know, buddy, like I know it's hard to be in a body, when he's up in the middle of the night crying.
Who had a baby?
Kevin.
He did? I totally missed that memo.
No, he messaged me. He told me to pass it on you because he couldn't figure out how to add you to the chat. So
Oh, okay. I was like,
it was just yesterday.
okay, I
Yeah.
didn't see that in the message.
Yeah. Yeah. So he said that's why he hasn't been around a lot. He's a new dad. Well, he has
Others.
other kids.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point to make. And understanding the memory wipe instead of just saying, oh, well, the memory wipe, they wipe our
I
memories
know.
and, you know,
Everybody's so quick, like
like,
memory wipe. Yeah.
explain that, like
Right.
explain that. But yeah,
It's
that's
there
an
for a
explanation.
reason.
And in a session that we saw that with the disabled girl that we did the session for, that you saw through her eyes what it would be like to carry all that information into a baby's body. It's not able to hold it. It's the body is not able to hold it.
No, not all of it. Not 500 lives, for example. I mean, you do have children that have access to it, but maybe like one,
One or two, yeah.
two. So it's not
Right,
technically all wiped, but it's there. If your parents are awake enough to understand what's happening, then yeah, they can nurture the memory
right.
and ask more questions and be open and yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, not this collective consciousness. Sorry, it's not gonna happen. Not in this place.
Ah, I need to pause for a sec. Okay, we're back. So that's one possibility, one very reasonable explanation for the mind wipe, you know?
Yeah. Sorry. It's very, yeah, I,
I don't think we can discount that.
no.
And the other trigger, one of the other trigger words is school, or not even so much school, but learning. The word learning. If we talk about learning anything from this experience, you're automatically attacked and
Right.
said, this isn't a school.
Unless you're learning that this is a trap, that's okay. That's okay.
All the energy and consciousness that goes into learning about the trap's okay.
It feels like a portal, or not a portal, but like a black hole that's just like like sucking all like what's good, what's right about it, like whatever. There's no
There's no balance.
it yeah, and it's
There's no
yes, there's
balance.
no balance and it's whatever suits that agenda.
Right.
Like you can hold that idea as you can hold other ideas at the same time.
You can hold all the ideas. That's the thing. You
It's
don't
not
have
just
to pick one.
yeah, like you can
It
just hold
doesn't have to be either or, you know?
yeah, like you said in the blog, just fucking juggle.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy, just juggle.
The visual I got was of being a juggler,
A jugular.
jug,
Jug a juggler.
juggler, juggler. And, each
That don't say
ball,
it too much. That might be a trigger word.
each ball is
A thought
an
or a
idea,
belief.
a thought, a belief, and you're just allowing them to flow through your hands, not holding any one of them, but just allowing them to flow through, entertaining them all, holding none. It's okay. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's
The
hard. I mean, like I get how people it's hard for people. Like you think you need belief systems. You do. I mean, to a certain point until you realize you don't need belief systems. It's another attachment.
right, and it limits you into this little tiny box.
It's so limiting. That's the thing. And you cannot say that you have the absolute truth. Because if you did, then what you still doing here?
Right, right,
Like even us, we don't have the absolute truth. That's why we're holding everything. And we're just doing our inner work, which I think is appropriate in order to have quality of life here.
right.
You have
I
to go
spent
through the suffering.
what, almost 40 years of, well, the whole, I wouldn't say it was all suffering. It wasn't all suffering, but there was a lot of suffering, especially in my late
The last
20s
20s.
to, you know,
Well, I would say like a lot of the
40.
last 20 years.
Yeah, a lot of the last 20 years. It's a lot of suffering. But there was still a lot of really good things to be found, and I know what it's like to be stuck in that mindset, that victim mentality, just having everything thrown at you.
I
And
feel that's what keeps us here, not the victim mentality, but I mean the good stuff. That's what keeps us here,
right,
sane a little bit, or like it's not all bad. You can't say that it's all bad.
right. Because it's all about what you focus on, you know? So
How did you get out of it?
I shifted my perspective. I stopped focusing on all the things that were negative and wrong about my life and focused on only the good and positive things. I reprogrammed my mind because my mind was telling me that I was worthless and I should be shameful about who I am. And I had tons of anxiety. Um, there was just so much. Like, for those of you that are suffering and feeling deeply depressed and anxious, and the mind is going with all of these thoughts, these negative looping thought patterns, I've been there. I know what it's like to be in the depths of that misery, in a deep, dark abyss of everything is wrong, nothing is right in my life, and I don't know how to get out of it. And someone said something to me that kind of clicked one day. And so a lot of my thought patterns were living in the past with all the things I did or didn't do right in my life. And she said, um, when you're living in depression, you're living in the past. When you're living in anxiety, you're living in the future. The only way to find peace is to live right now in the present. And so that's what I started to do, practicing presence. And what that means is, so when you find yourself spiraling into the past or into the future, you stop those thoughts, because you do have control over your thoughts. You can choose what you think. And you come back to the present moment, and you're here now, and you remind yourself that you're safe, that all is well. And all you need to do is be here now, focus on your breath, and everything is fine. And every time you find your mind spiraling out, that's what you do. And before you know it, that becomes your state of being on a consistent basis. And all of that goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes away.
Yeah. I like to add to that whole thing about the past and the future, whatever. But the depression part too, like what I've also held on to, the depression is also due to not living authentically.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Not being authentic to yourself, feeling like you have to wear a mask and be something that you're not, what the world is telling you to be, when you're not being true to yourself. The anxiety and depression is overwhelming. That's a huge, huge, huge part of it. So, yes, reprogramming the mind, being present, stripping away all the layers that aren't you anymore, leaving that job, leaving that relationship, moving, doing whatever you have to do to follow your heart and do what's authentic to you. That's where you have to go. That's your higher self, your divine self following you. And when you follow that, you are supported in every way. People come out of the woodwork. You find money on the street. Like, when you are following your divine self, you're fully and completely supported in every way you could possibly imagine. And that is true time and time again. So you can say what you want about the matrix, but when you're following your heart, you will be supported
Totally.
100%. And I have experienced that. And that's why I know that there is something more to this world than just negativity and control.
Right.
There's something, there's a
That's,
life force, there's an energy that connects us.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think that's when you're able to tap into true sovereignty, because you're tapping into the side that is free, or that is of the light here in this duality.
And also, when you do that, even more than that, it's almost as if you're disconnecting from it all when you come into your authenticity, because your authentic self isn't connected to the matrix. You're
Yeah,
aligning with your spirit. You're aligning with spirit.
mhm.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Disconnected, and you're not, you know yourself. So everything has been sharpened. So your judgment, the way your perception, um, the way you choose to live, knowing you have a choice in how you want to live.
You always have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the other trigger words you just mentioned is judgment. And this also has been taken to the extreme by both sides, right? The new age doesn't believe in judging anyone, right? Because we go back to the belief that we are all one. And when you judge another, you're judging yourself. And I feel that that is true in a way. However, when taken to the extreme, that allows for really soft boundaries
Or
and it
none.
or none, and acceptance of things that are morally unacceptable or morally wrong, because
Right.
that belief of it brings in also that belief of there is no right or wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
from the highest perspective, there's no right or wrong. Everyone's just living out their experience. And we need the dark things for contrast, like that belief comes into it as well. Um, but that's a really slippery slope and another side of like the extreme. That leads us into like a moral relativism and and that concept of there's no right or wrong. So then we do things in the name of progressivism, like accepting now minor attracted persons, which are pedophiles, basically, in the name of acceptance. So that's like, and not judging, right? We don't want to judge anyone. So that's one extreme, and kind of you can see how that slope is really slippery, right? And then
Right.
the other extreme
Yeah.
is that,
Everybody's all for that agenda until it has to do with their kid.
right, exactly. Then the other extreme of that is, judging everyone for everything, and um, calling out people for using the trigger words or not aligning with your belief system and things like that. And I don't know, I just feel like that's another slippery slope that is um
Also,
kind of
yeah, again, very
tunneling us
imbalanced.
into like a box, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, like we need a healthy judgment. We need a spiritual discernment. But when we take things to the extreme, there's no balance there, and it just becomes two sides of the same coin. So, healthy judgment, healthy discernment, healthy spiritual discernment is a gift, and we need to use that to decide for ourselves what is right and what is wrong, and what do I want to align with and what don't I want to align with. But and that's healthy. That's something that you want, of course. I think not falling into the trap of either extreme is where we want to be. Always in finding that balance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Def.
Any other trigger words that you can think of?
No, those are pretty much the big ones. I'm trying to think of like comments and things that we've seen.
Oh, the other one is about the meat suit.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because if you're not finding harmony, I mean, yes, again, part of the grieving, it's like you find what's wrong, you get angry about it, you don't like it, fine. But you kind of have to work with what you got. So if this is your body, your vessel, your computer system, whatever the hell you want to call it, I think you have to like kind of work with it or at least have a good relationship or try to create a good relationship or accept it, fully accept it. Um, and yeah, because like anything else, if you're not gonna be good to it, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work in your favor. It's gonna say, well, fuck you.
Right? Because your body listens to every single thought you have.
Yeah.
Every single thought is being directly beamed right into your cells.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's some real science out there about that, you know?
Yeah. The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Hmm.
What
Yeah,
we believe, especially subconsciously, affects our biology 100%.
yeah,
And so then we have the capability to also change those things. This is, if you want to see it as a gross meat suit, that's fine. But if you could just shift your perspective into seeing what really an advanced piece of technology it is when you know how to hack it, when you know how to hack it with your thoughts and beliefs alone, that
right.
you that you can heal yourself. You can
Yeah,
heal yourself. You don't
right,
even need any medicine at all. You can literally heal your body with your thoughts. Like, if that's not incredible, I don't know what is.
right.
What's his name? Joe Dispenza literally healed his paralyzation with his mind. He thought it into existence. And many, many others have done the same or similar,
Hmm.
including myself. I mean, I used other tools, of course, which is perfectly fine, diet, supplements, those kinds of things. But
To
most of it,
support the vessel while it's
right,
toxic, to bring it back to where it should be. And again, how just an attestation of the body, just like knowing the deception of the world and how we've been slowly poisoned and are being slowly poisoned, we're still alive and functioning.
I know it's incredible the amount of poisoning that a human body can take and still function.
Right. So it's like, yeah,
The belief in your ability to heal is literally everything. If you are struggling with a physical ailment or illness, the number one thing you have to overcome is your belief. Do you believe your body can heal? Like 100% fully and completely believe in yourself and your body's power to heal itself? If you don't, then that's the number one thing you need to work on, is shifting that belief. Because that one thing has the power to override everything else, including all the physical things. Your body is listening all the time. And yeah, like I get it, and I think part of that belief in these, bodies being a meat suit, I think that goes back to Gnosticism. I mean, we see in the secret gospel of John that these bodies were created by the archons, um, to trap our spirits within physicality. And yeah, I believe that. I believe that's a thing. But I
right,
also know that we have to make the best of it while we're here.
right. And you can hijack their system.
Exactly.
Like, fucking use it. Use your power. Say, like, okay, this is an Archon thing, so then I automatically hate it. You know? Well, now fucking be a creator or be powerful and be
Right.
a hacker. Hack
Do
their
you,
system, hack your body so you can use it against, so you don't have to feed the matrix, so you can unplug yourself from the matrix.
right. Do you believe you're a creator being or not? That's the question.
It's a long silence now. I'm like, I go, do we mic drop the mic or no? No, we the point of today's talk is to talk, like, to bring some of these things to light. Don't get triggered.
Well, that's another trigger word, the light. The light is
Right.
another trigger word.
Whatever. To bring it out of the shadow and just fucking look at it. What do you want me to say? Light is a very short word. Not you, but I mean, just saying, like, bring out everything so that you can just consider. All we ever do on our YouTubes is to just consider the information. You don't have to attach to it. But I mean, it we want people to start, like, thinking on a regular basis instead of already slamming the door on something that you've trained yourself to not accept.
A really good way
So
to put it.
it's just listen. If it still doesn't resonate, that's cool. Like, but just to consider it. What if down the line or whatever, we die and then you're like, all right, I can get out of here. And then they hold all of your belief systems against you and say, like, you were wrong. So here's the conveyor belt, sir. Go on. What are you gonna do? They're gonna mind wipe you anyway, right? I mean, we'll never really know. We will never really know. And I always say this, I was like, how many times have we had this YouTube video
Yeah.
saying the same thing over and over again? Never really know.
Hmm.
Will you be any more angry than you already are?
Yeah.
It's like, what can you do? If this is a repeat, a repeat, and a repeat, we're just gathering or hoping. I think the wake up process gets a little easier because you do know to a certain degree, like, you knew you're different when you're growing up. You knew that you had some kind of awareness that there was something off. It's just that you're still remembering to a certain degree. I've always had that until it clicked, all the pieces clicked. And then I was like, oh my God, like, I just woke up, like the switch went off right away. And everything that I had already knew had now made fucking sense.
Right. If we didn't have that, would any of us have woken up? If we didn't have those
Right.
memories? And we even saw in one of your sessions that you actually placed reminders for yourself
Yeah.
to trigger that memory,
Yeah.
to gain access to those memories. All the things too that we're attracted to in our life. We're attracted to those things for a reason. And it's because of past life connections and things that we've done, you know?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't really say, yeah, I understand, like, you want to access your whole full memories, but you do to a certain degree. I mean, you see some people and you know that you get along with them for some reason, and you know that you don't for some reason. There's a remembrance there. You just gotta work with what you got. You can't just be like, that's not fair, and then be angry the whole time. It's just like, okay, well, what's it gonna fucking do for you? You gotta work with what you got now.
Right. We're here.
Yeah, we're here. It didn't work out. They mind wiped us. Okay, now what? Next. Like, take your hands off your hips and, like, live. Make a choice. Live.
Create your life.
Yeah.
Create your life. You're a
Yeah,
creator being.
because in the end, like Tina said to me, no one fucking gives a shit. No one gives a shit. So you're on your own, just as we are. We're on our fucking own.
Yeah. And I had to figure that out for myself the hard way. No one gives a shit. And
Yeah.
realize that no one was coming to save me. No one cared that I was suffering. No one was coming to save me. The only person who was going to change me was me. I had to change. And when I changed, my outer world changed. That's the only way. The only thing you can change in this world is yourself. That's it. You have no control over anything else or anyone else. The only control you have is over your own self and your own inner world. That's it.
Easy.
Easy. So start there. Start there. Start
Yeah,
exploring your
just start making,
consciousness.
yeah, make a choice and say, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to suffer anymore. Like, you have to decide, I don't want to suffer anymore. And again, it's just like, okay, well, whatever I know now, I, c- I just gotta work with it.
Yeah.
And
You can't change
you
it.
can't change
You
it.
can't change it. We cannot change this system. This system is the way it is. Even, the love and lighters who believe that Earth is going to change and all those things. Maybe it will thousands of years from now, but it's not in our lifetime. It's
Right.
not in our lifetime. So we have to deal with what is happening now and make the best of what we have now and do the work now.
Yeah. And use all the buzzwords, all the trigger words in
Save
order to
ourselves.
save yourself, educate yourself. It's true. I had to educate myself on how to have quality of life here and how to feel free and not imprisoned.
Well, how did you do that?
I had to work on myself. I had to do a lot of, I did a lot of hypnosis stuff. I did a lot of somatic healing to heal my meat suit. Like, and I'm still doing the work. I'm still going to the root of my, core wounds of this lifetime, which if I did have other lifetimes, I presume they're the same ones. Everybody has the same fucking core wounds of abandonment. Everybody, to some degree, are abandoned
Mhm.
because we feel like we've been abandoned in this damn system.
Abandoned by God.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
core wound for everyone here. Abandoned
Practically.
by God. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to reconnect with myself, get to parent myself, forgive my parents for not knowing any better. Like I even like when I had to deal with my daughter having the panic attack at the fair and whatnot, that moment I leveled into forgiving my parents for not knowing. They didn't know. Nothing was happening to my daughter. So I could have easily just said, you're crying for nothing, like relax, like get over it. So I get it why they said it. They had no idea. Just not awake.
They had no idea that that you were overwhelmed by the energy of all the people and the
Yeah.
things.
All the live long day. So yeah, I have to do a lot of that. I do a lot of like tapping all the time and like my sternum, especially, I feel there's a lot of stuff stuck in the sternum, which is probably where the heart is. Well, my heart to release.
Probably.
Probably. There's like a big wall there or something that I'm trying to break through. But yeah, just like reconnecting with the self and being able to validate what I'm feeling, being able to understand what my feelings are, and knowing that even if it is irrational at this now moment, that it's the body's way of purging it or to acknowledge it because then it has to go. So yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff on how to whatever. And then you get results. You can be outdoors and see that, oh, it's a beautiful day today. Are you allowed to say beautiful in this world? Like, yes, there are beautiful things in this world. And I think that's really important. If you have nothing to hold on to, try to find something that you think is beautiful and focus on that.
Focus on the good things. Focus on the beauty. Focus on what's right in your life, in the world around you. All
Yeah,
this hyper focus on the trap and the negativity
right.
is bringing
It's so
people
toxic.
down.
It's really
It's
toxic.
it's toxic and
It's
it's
so toxic.
contracted energy. It's not an expansive energy.
No, no. Like I know that there's an injustice because I'm all about justice. Like I'm all for it. So I get it. Like when you hear that, like, yeah, they've been using us and
Farming us and
yeah,
siphoning our
yeah,
energy
that's
and
fucked up.
abusing us.
But
Yeah.
when you understand, now you can be like, well, I don't want to contribute to the damn farm. So how can I not contribute to the farm? They hook into your point of vulnerability. So know what your vulnerable parts are so that you can heal yourself so that you're no longer vulnerable. Like
Mm.
even if people say like, oh, well, they feed off your happiness. Well, fine. I'd rather them feed off my damn happiness than out of my misery. Because then at least I'm having a great old fucking time and so are they.
Right.
Like, hey, you're a demon. Like, we're having a great old time. I don't consent. But still, they can't feed off of your misery. They won't feed off your victimhood. They won't feed off you feeling sorry for yourself.
And angry.
And anger. Anger.
Fear. This is another
Fear.
thing, the fear that this is generating in people.
Yeah, you got to recognize that. The anger and the fear.
Now people are like afraid to die. What better way to feed off of people?
Right. They'll
The
probably make you
fear
live
of death.
forever. They'll probably make you live forever and then feed on your suffering for the rest of your life until you really give up.
You know, when in Robert Monroe's excerpt on Loosh, they talked about they used to only harvest our energy when we died.
Mm,
That was
right.
how they would harvest us. Then they decided that they could, I guess, create suffering and that or whatever. They could create loosh while we were living and feed off of that. But the last thing you want to be doing is creating loosh as you're dying. If you die in a natural way and know that it's coming and it's not like traumatic or whatever. But either way, you want to be prepared for that.
What happened?
No, I was just seeing a light reflection over there. It's the fan. And being perfect prepared for death is, have you forgiven yourself for all your past mistakes? Have you forgiven others who have hurt you? Have you tied up all of your relationships with everyone? Have you done the inner work to heal your limiting beliefs, to come out of victimhood, to release the fear, to heal your trauma, to open your heart, to heal the heart, to connect with your divine self, to know what that feels like, having your divine self anchored in your body to where you're connected with it all the time. You're never disconnected because you know what that feels like now, and you've done the work to be able to anchor that in and connect and be connected all the time. Those are the things we have to do before we die. And then there's also other steps, which we're going to talk about
Right. And if people say, how do you
more.
know? How do you know that? It's it seems like to be the most realistic way to get out of here because they have nothing on you to tie you here.
No beliefs, no attachments, no wounds, no past trauma.
Mhm.
There's nothing to hook you back in to say, hey, well, you hurt your brother, when you were 13 and you
Or
might want
hey,
to.
you're really angry about that trap, huh? That would be funny, no?
Yeah,
That would be ironic.
yeah. And Yeah, so you might want to come back and redo that and make up for that,
To come back into a state of balance.
right? Because you are imbalanced. It's all about balance. Balance is the key. Balance is the way out of here. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
this big complicated thing where you need to like, you know, I don't know, make all these steps for after death and all
I
those
think
kinds of
it's
things.
not
You
as
have to do the
complicated.
work while you're here.
That's it.
That's it.
And you have to get over the damn buzzwords. Sorry.
For real.
For real, get over it. Like, or they're gonna be like, oh, you didn't like these words, Jimmy? Oh, well, let's hook you back in.
All right.
Well, if there's anything else, darling.
I just wanted to mention the um regarding duality and the contrast that we have here in the duality, the polarity. And there's this idea, I think it stems from the law of one, that these beings incarnated so that they could create contrast for us, because as spirited ethereal beings, we were just benevolent and good and didn't have any contrast that would help us to grow. So
Mm-hmm.
they did us a favor
Mm-hmm.
by invading this realm, inverting it so that we would have something to push up against to grow our souls,
To make it fun.
to make it fun. Um,
That's a weird deception.
it is, right? Uh,
Yeah, because that sucks. Because you're forcing upon that and assuming that a soul is not smart enough to get smarter or brighter.
yeah.
That's very
And
limiting
right,
too.
exactly. And it perpetuates this idea that we need contrast to learn. And what is that contrast? Usually it's suffering, it's
Hmm.
pain that creates the contrast for us to learn from. And yeah, I do feel like that's a deception. Maybe that is true in this realm, in earth, in the inversion that this is, but I don't feel like that has to be true. And I feel like we need to overcome that belief that we need contrast to be able to learn.
Yeah, you can hold again both.
Right. And
But
that,
again, it's like, yeah, you have those thoughts where the victimized state, like, well, I suffered all the time and I'm angry. Yeah,
yeah,
it
we all
sucks.
suffer.
Yeah, we all fucking suffer. It's not just you. It's just like how are you gonna choose not to? I've used it. Tina's used it to learn from it, or a catalyst, using it as a catalyst to to heal. But it's your prerogative how you want to live your life, how
Yeah.
you take this information. If it angers you even more, I would suggest that you look at yourself to ask yourself, why does that make me angry? Why? Why are you getting offended by what we're saying or the way that we're saying it or the tone? I know my tone could sound condescending. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But that helped me in my growth too, because I had to look at myself like, why does that offend me? Like, I need to patch up these things for myself so I don't suffer in the future. So that's why it's like if someone says anything, it's going to be like, okay, well, you don't have to accept that.
The ego might get offended, but the spirit knows truth. Truth is a frequency, truth is a feeling. And when your vessel is clear, when your
Yeah.
energy is clear, you're able to feel that. You
Yeah.
don't need, and you just know. It's not something you need to hear from another person or ponder. You just
Right.
know, you feel it because you're so clear. You've healed and released so much of what this matrix has put upon you.
Yeah. It's good to look at that because then the very thing that you're angry about is what you're feeding.
Yeah, true, true. And you know, when it comes to suffering, most people, humans, I've noticed, and this is just the human condition, most people would rather stay in their suffering than make the changes necessary to heal from it, unless and if they ever really hit rock bottom and become so sick and tired of their suffering, of being sick and tired, that they're willing to push past the discomfort and actually do something about it, make the change.
Right.
Humans don't like change, and especially
Oh,
changing themselves.
oh
It,
yeah, that's difficult.
it is.
It's a hard pill to swallow when you
Yeah.
realize that you're the problem or you've contributed to the problem.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you can blame all you want, but then it doesn't really get you very far.
Right.
Yeah. Energy don't lie. It's true. Frequency don't lie. And it's true. Like when we do the healing work, I swear, like it takes a lot to offend us. I think that's why there was a lot of turmoil in our little group chat things that it didn't even phase us. We're just like, okay, cool. Like you don't have to take it. You don't have to be like, hey, he's talking to me or and get offended by it. You got to look at yourself and be like, why does that offend me? I know we have bad days, but I mean, like,
I think we have healthy egos. Our egos aren't easily offended by things because we don't take it personally. You know, even if people leave with the comments that they do or whatever, we don't take it personally. It's just like we're
yes,
observing what's
the new
happening.
consciousness that's being born.
Yeah,
It's crazy to watch.
it is.
Like a different section of the garden. You're like, did you see that? Did you see those in the back row there? That's growing there? It's crazy. Like that. It's getting strong.
Yeah, the garden, the Lush garden.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. Especially like when they like make a comment. It's like, okay, like I appreciate the ones that like want to bring us to attention, like in case we miss something, like it's cool. But it's like the ones that are speaking in absolutes, it's like back up a little bit and reread what you just wrote. And
Even the whole Jesus thing, I just have to say this because uh,
what's wrong with Jesus again?
even Jesus is a matrix program.
I thought it was Metatron.
Metatron is too. But even if
Oh,
Jesus,
like anyone of the new age
yeah,
faith
anyone,
or
anyone. Yeah. But even if Jesus wasn't a real human being that actually lived here on earth, even if that's true, he still, as an avatar, represents the Christed energy. And the Christed energy for us has always been about balance. The Christed energy for us has always been through the lens of the Gnostics, where Jesus tells us about the trap, how it was created, and how to get out of here.
mm-hmm.
So even if Jesus is an imaginary figure, that's perfectly fine with me because there's still wisdom to be gained there. regardless of what you think about Jesus.
Right. They're attaching too much to like
It's too much.
it's just
It's just
attach it's
too
all
much. It's
attachment to
all
like the
attachment.
all of them are all wearing the boogeyman hat.
Right.
Like all of them. But it's like, well, if you don't have to, I don't know. It's weird. It's just like let it just drop it. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But you don't have to bash everything. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You really don't. I find it so exhausting to have to bash everything when it's like just deal with your anger inside of, like your personal things and you'll feel so liberated. You'll just be like, ah, Jesus, cool.
Yeah.
Like
Like
it's so
that's
hard. I find it's just like, oh, what did you say? Like Archangel Michael? How dare you? But I'm like, okay, I'm just
yeah, someone
like
commented on
it's
my video
so
about discerning higher beings. It was so aggressive. It was like, these higher beings are not, don't you know these higher beings are not going to heal you? And I'm like,
well,
I didn't
well,
say they
what's
were.
what's gonna heal you? Being angry like that?
Yeah.
I would be more concerned about the anger you're throwing out there by what we're saying wrong or whatever is perceived as wrong. I'd be more concerned about that. That's how you get cancer. Just saying,
Yeah, it's
like
true.
be careful. Be aware of the energy you bring to the table. We can have a conversation very openly and disagree, but it doesn't have to be aggressive. Like I don't agree with all the things you say. Cool. It's okay. Can all be pals? But don't
Right.
bring your anger to my house.
Yes.
I don't appreciate that.
Yes.
Because if
It's
I'm angry, I'm not going to bring myself to your house.
right, because we're mindful of our energy and what we bring into someone's space.
Yeah, God, it's so basic, right? I mean, we have a lot of unlearning to do. It's okay. Anything else, darling?
That's all,
All
I
right.
think.
Well, thank you, everyone. If you made it this far, um, we hope that you found what we had to say helpful, at least again, to entertain. This is all for entertainment purposes and to just be like, maybe, a consideration perhaps. Um, but we appreciate you all for being here if you made it all the way to the end. We hope that again, if you don't like what we said, or it's okay. If you like what we said, fab, give it a like and comment down
Yeah.
below.
We're not offended if you don't like what we said. We're
No,
really not
but
offended.
we don't appreciate if you come and show some disrespect. Like that's just like uncalled for and mean. Okay. Like we're just trying here to be helpful. We're trying to be helpful because we want people to not get stuck in a space when they can actually live happy lives. We're trying to promote happy lives.
Right.
You can have it here. You absolutely can.
It doesn't need to be so extremely polarized.
No,
And
it's
I'll leave
hard.
my article linked in the description. And if anyone wants to explore their consciousness and connect with their divine self to know and understand what your home actually feels like, how you got here, and how to get out, because only you have those answers. No one else has those answers. Only you have
Yeah,
those
it's
answers.
all unique to yourself.
Then,
What is it, a mantis?
no, but that little baby mantis that was on my flower out front, it's growing. It's still there on the same flower.
Lord. Okay.
No, it was just like somebody shining a flashlight. What was I saying?
I don't know. I got distracted.
Is that like a UFO or something? It's distraction.
Yeah, see? Distraction.
um,
UFO, like,
oh, I was thinking about booking a session and exploring your own consciousness to feel what that feels like in your body, to be connected to your divine self, to be connected to your home, wherever that is. to access the memory within you of how you got here to Earth, why you came, or were brought here, or trapped here, or however that happened.
Yeah. If
Because
you
the
understand your mind wipe.
experience, yeah, and the experience is different for each individual soul. And the story of that, of how they got here, where they came from, and where they're going next, how to get home, how to release all of your attachments and fear and trauma, and find forgiveness for the things that have happened to you in this lifetime, how to reduce your suffering at the very least, then check out our website at quantumhealingwithtena.com.
Yeah. Just saying. I mean, you can call out all like what's wrong about here. But in the end, it's like if you don't want to help yourself, then it's just excuses and victimhood.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So if you actually want to consider having quality of life, I mean, you should start questioning what's going on upstairs and how you're feeling in your body. So we're proof that, you know, with the work that's being done, you can live a happy life.
And you can get so much done in one hypnosis session. Just to say that, like, so much, you know, like you can find answers to all of those questions and so much more in one session. It's so worth it. It can be life changing. Just one session can totally transform your life. And, you know, that was true for me. And that's why I got into this work, because I saw how transformative it could be. We wouldn't be doing something that we didn't wholeheartedly believe in and know that it had the capability to transform people's lives. And it's not even us doing the work, it's helping to guide you into your own remembering. And then
Yes.
you can take those tools and use them in your everyday life. So that's
That's it.
all.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming. And yes, again, like, subscribe, share if you'd like, comment, and we will see you on the next episode.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you in the comments if you have any thoughts that you would like to share. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. We'll see you next time. Sending you so much love.
Peace.
See you next time.